Infertility is a silent struggle on a road that is often lonely. It is littered with incidents that constrain one's mental and physical health. 6 years and 5 miscarriages is almost too much to bear before the final arrival of your son. Karabo and Jerry share their story. This is how we cope. I'm Hugo Ribatika. The great big assumption is that you will get married, and immediately after marriage, at some point, your wife will be with child. Well, the couple that we're speaking to now had to wait 8 years, and during that time, they lost 5 babies. Very, very difficult, but this is their story. Jerry and Karabo, thank you so much for coming on to cope.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
That could not have been an easy journey.
No.
Especially for a Zulu man trying to start up a family, no kids. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, so obviously you guys got married and then you decided you were going to wait a few years before starting a family.
Right.
Karabo, talk us through that process.
So we got married quite young, and we decided we were going to wait and just honeymoon, have time together, travel, study, accumulate assets, and that's exactly what we did the first 4 years of our marriage.
And at the end of the 4 years, tell us about that.
Yeah, so towards the end of the 4th year, we stopped using contraceptives. We didn't foresee that there would be any problems or whatsoever. Jerry had a son from a previous relationship, so it wasn't something foreign that would have kids one day. None of our family members struggled with infertility, so it was never even a thought. You know, even during premarital counseling, it was never an issue that was touched on. So when we stopped contraceptives, we obviously expected to fall pregnant quite quickly. And when it did not happen, we consulted with a local gynae and found that there wasn't anything wrong with us. He did a laparoscopy and everything was perfectly normal with me. So we didn't foresee any problems. He also didn't see anything.
Did you worry at all at this point?
Year number 1, it was a bit of a concern, but I wouldn't say it's something that kept us awake at night. It was only, I think, year number 2 when we were trying that we were now feeling pressure from society, church members, friends were falling pregnant. And that's when it started really getting to us, you know, when external forces impact the way you feel about your journey.
So now I'd like to think that that pressure was not just about the 2 years, but about the 6 years. So 4 years was your business, but obviously people are asking.
Absolutely, absolutely. In our culture, I suppose many African cultures, when you pay lobola and you take your cows from your kraal to another family, that must be in exchange of kids. So that pressure started on our first day of marriage to say, we've paid lobola, where are the kids, where are the heirs? So whenever we will visit, questions will be asked, suggestions will be asked to say, where are the heirs, where are the kids? And at the first 4 years, it wasn't much because we were not planning anyway, so it was part of our vision. So we could just say, no, we are studying, finishing that, working hard in our careers. But the last 2 years, the last 4 years, that's why it was very tough.
Now, obviously you mentioned that Jerry had a son already. So presumption is that there was a lot more pressure on you than there was on Jerry.
Right, right. So because he already had a child, it was assumed that I was the problem. And in most cases, it's not like that. Fertility issues are a couple's issue. Both couples need to be tested. Both couples need to undergo through certain procedures to ensure that there's conception. Yeah.
So in our story, just specifically, the fact that you had a child doesn't mean that you'll always have a child. So we always refer to primary infertility and secondary infertility. So in my case, as the male in a relationship, there were also issues that I didn't know of. So I was, casually, supporting my wife until one of the doctors said, let's get you checked as well. So they did the analysis, and they did indeed find that I had a problem. I had a morphology problem and a sperm quality, sperm count. So with diagnosis, then there's help, there's prescriptions you can take. So we can't just assume that because you once had a child, you will always have a child.
Had you ever blamed Karabo for you guys not conceiving?
Not really.
But sort of.
Not yeah, I thought it will cross your mind because I had a testimony, I had a child. So suspect is mostly on her. But in terms of blaming, what did you do? I didn't go that far.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at what point did you seek further help?
So after our little procedure that we had with the doctor, that's when we started realizing that there could be bigger problems than we think, because we waited after the procedure, and still months after that, nothing was happening. And we consulted a fertility clinic, and we went for consultation, and doctor suggested that we try artificial insemination, which is a procedure where they insert the sperm inside your uterus. So they prepare your body, take injections and some medication to ensure that there's higher chance of me falling pregnant at a certain time of the month when I'm ovulating. And we did that procedure. The first one was not a success. We didn't know why. The second one didn't work as well. And immediately after that, we fell pregnant. But we did not know that we were pregnant. So I had my normal period. I thought, okay, this is just one of the painful periods that I'm having. But after I had been on the period for quite some time, and I was literally falling sick now, I consulted a doctor. He just decided, let's just take a pregnancy test just to make sure. He took the blood test and it came back positive, but there wasn't anything in the uterus that suggested that there was a pregnancy. So that was the first miscarriage that we had. And I somehow thought maybe there's something that we did. When you want to control a situation in your mind, you think, there's probably something that I could have done better. We are taught in our culture that you shouldn't carry heavy things as a woman, and I'm very industrious around the house. So I thought maybe it's something that I carried that was heavy. So I tried to rationalize it a lot. But when it happened again the second time around, when I thought we did everything right, we were praying, we were believing God, we were eating right, we were taking supplements, and when we had the second miscarriage, exactly the same way, we did not know we were pregnant. I got sick, went to the doctor, took a pregnancy test, it was positive, but there wasn't a pregnancy. So that is when we started falling into depression, and all the emotional aspects of infertility came in.
Well, at least there was, sorry to interject, at least there was a bit of hope, because that was our first pregnancy, inverted commas. So at least there was a glimmer of hope, so at least we can fall pregnant. Though we lost it, but at least things are working.
You talk about we in terms of depression. Was it sympathetic depression? Were you physically depressed, Jerry?
I will say a little bit, because we are in this together, so we both want this, so the anxiety will get to both of us. And as a man, if your wife loses a pregnancy, you also ask yourself questions. Am I to blame? Am I part of this? As I've alluded earlier, there are also male issues that can contribute to a pregnancy loss. So we'll be in this together. Also, just from a spiritual side, we're supposed to be blessed. We're a blessed couple. Why are things not working? Is it my God, my faith, my strength? So the depression, hit both of us. I relate a story where I was walking in one of the shopping malls, and then it's like that particular day, every second woman, is pregnant, and then it gets to you and say, but why not my wife?
Mm. So post the 2 pregnancies, what then happened?
Post the 2 pregnancies, we both had a difficult time dealing with the pregnancy losses, and we decided we're going to take a break, or rather give up on trying. And we had bought a couple of shares to prepare for the baby when the baby comes, so we can buy baby equipment, all the cots and prams and so on. So we were financially ready to have a baby that wasn't coming. So around November, we decided that no, we're not going to do this anymore because of the emotional toll that it was taking on both of us. We sold the shares, we spent the money, we went back to school. I went back to do my postgrad, and a few months after I registered, I contracted chickenpox from my study mate. And from there on, I went to casualty, obviously to try to say, hey, I've got chickenpox. Can you please just try to stop it just so it doesn't go to my face or anything like that? And doctor suggested that we should do a pregnancy test. And knowing where we've been, I was in disbelief, actually. I was irritated as well to say, but why are you asking about a pregnancy when I've come for chickenpox,
Where's the link?
It was the link between that.
Where did you study, doctor?
Because he said, I'd like to give you something, but I can't give you this injection if you are pregnant. And he said, just as a precautionary measure, let's just check. And he took the pregnancy test. He took blood samples, and I went home. Jerry went later on to go pick up the results. And he came home with the results to tell me that we're pregnant.
Wow.
And the doctor said this could be the worst time to fall pregnant if you've got smallpox.
Chickenpox.
Chickenpox, yeah.
Did you open the results before you got home?
Yes.
I presume that was the same smile you had when you saw them.
Yes, but there's always a thought, at the back of your head, what if we lose this one? So we're still anxious.
Yeah.
It wasn't a home run yet.
Yeah.
And when you discovered that you were pregnant, how did you feel?
When he told me that we were pregnant, I was in disbelief, number one. Both of us were excited, but also we were anxious because what if we lose this one again? We decided not to tell any family members or friends. So we kept it to ourselves. We didn't even consult, for the 5 weeks that after we found out that we were pregnant, we didn't consult at all. Only after 8 weeks did we go to the doctor, and that's when we heard his heartbeat for the very first time. And that was the moment when both of us realized it's real. I remember I was lying on that bed, and when I could hear the monitor and the baby's heartbeat, for us, that was the moment where we experienced the joy of an answered prayer.
This was after 6 years.
This was after 6 years.
Stay with that thought. 6 years it took them to get pregnant. What a joy it must have been for Jerry and Karabo. Stay with us. Just before the break, Karabo was telling us about that incident. 6 years and 2 months, she finally heard the heartbeat of that little boy.
Right.
How excited were you?
I was very excited. We couldn't believe it, that finally it's really happening to us. The miraculous thing was that we didn't go through any assisted procedures to fall pregnant. It just happened naturally. So it was that moment of really experiencing that joy of having your prayers answered.
It was a very humbling experience,
Yeah.
very emotional, because when you see the monitor, it was like, it could be anything. But when you hear the heartbeat, it's like, no, he's alive, he's alive, or she's alive, she's alive.
And the next 7 months?
The next 7 months was a bit of a battle for both of us, because I had to inject myself on a daily basis. So after the second miscarriage, doctor found out the reason for my recurring pregnancy losses. And it's an autoimmune disease called antiphospholipid syndrome. So I had to inject myself on a daily basis till the day I delivered. So it was quite a struggle. I had to get moral support every night when I had to do it, and he had to stand here and watch, because I'm terrified of needles, but we had to go through that. But other than that, it was quite a healthy pregnancy.
And when did you decide to name your boy, I presume?
I can't remember.
Yeah, what we had in our family, we always had a bank of names.
Yes.
We had Kazimulo and
Yes.
Dumiso and many others.
Yes.
If it was a lady, we had Kanyisile.
Yes.
Some of my passwords still today, so the viewers out there, I'm still using the names that we had.
Yeah.
So Dumiso came just from that heart of gratitude to say, Lord, we give you praise.
Yeah.
His name shall be called Dumiso.
How old is he now?
8 years old.
He's 8.
He's turning 9 in January.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing.
But after Ndumiso, you did try and have more kids.
Yes, we've actually never been on contraceptives ever since he was born. And 2 years after he was born, we had an ectopic pregnancy, which led to one of my tubes being removed. And shortly after that, we had 2 more miscarriages, and the latest one was this year in Feb.
Yeah.
You're obviously a strong woman to be sitting here and talking about this, but let's talk about you, Jerry, and the support that you've had to give your wife during this time.
A lot of assurances, because in some cases relationship stands on results, productivity, achievement of goals. So from my side, I had to give a lot of affirmations to say we thank God for Ndumiso, we thank God for Tabani. We are truly blessed. Let's stand together. In my eyes, you are not less of a woman because we keep losing these pregnancies. And then at some stage you really fear for the life of your wife. Like she said, a tube had to be removed. What more is coming? So you really worry, but we remain a pillar, to each other.
Now, as a support structure around you, obviously we're aware of the role that Jerry has played. What about friends, family? Have they been there? Have there been other challenges?
Yeah, we've had a couple of friends and family that have been God-sent, I must say. We have friends that used to pray with us, when we visit them. Immediately, when we are about to leave, we just hold hands together. And I remember one time they made a circle and put me right in the middle, and we just prayed and asked the Lord, hear our prayers. And our family members were supportive, my sisters, my mother, his siblings as well. So we did have those people that did support us.
The one thing I'm curious about is you speak a lot about we. You speak like one. I've interviewed many people. Not saying that their relationships are any less than yours, but has that been a huge factor, support factor, if you will, in walking this journey?
Absolutely. I think the foundation of our marriage was one of friendship. So before we are husband and wife, we are friends. We've got a pet name that is called Mchana. So when we were growing up, your closest buddy, you call it Mchana. Pinjami, Njayami, those type of names. So we just built from that, solid foundation of friendship. So we are in this together. Children or not, money or not, health or not, we are in this together. So we stand just for couples. We don't believe that couples need to compete and have rivalry. You are not doing your part. So it's just natural for us, to talk in terms of we.
Now you talk about togetherness. You've set up an NPO, I believe, that supports women or couples in similar situations. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
So HANA is a non-profitable organization that seeks to support couples that are going through infertility, but mostly also bring them information. That is key. There's a saying that Jerry likes to say that ignorance is not bliss when you're trying. It's expensive. So we were in a situation where we felt like we did not have a lot of information around what we were going through. So we're creating that platform for other couples to gain knowledge about what they're going through.
And how do these couples find you? And is it just limited to information? Do you have a support group? At what point do you decide that you are trying and you have failed, or that you have fertility problems?
Right. So they can get hold of us on social media. We've had a couple of symposiums that we've hosted where we would invite specialists to come and talk about different causes of infertility. And from there on, because of lockdown, we've had coffee and conversation on Sundays, still talking to experts about infertility. And that information is available on our page.
So basically at any point of the couple's journey, if you feel alone, feel depressed, don't know where to go, there's many of organizations like HANA. You can just do a Google search. We throw out the support, the information there. We refer you to very qualified, top-notch specialists. And then we are also people of faith. We encourage on our social medias. We give a quote, success stories. So it's about just breaking the silence, talk about it. You may never physically hold a baby, but just know that you're not alone. That's what we stand for.
Karabo, what sort of challenges does the average woman go through when she's failing to conceive?
The biggest one is stigma. A lot of African women go through a lot of stigma when they are unable to fall pregnant. And I think it's the whole expectation that umakoti is supposed to bring an heir in the family. And we are therefore, as women, defined by motherhood. And the minute you are unable to be that, then you are not regarded as a woman. It's like you are second-class citizen, or you are just not what you are supposed to be, and people treat you like that. So that's a big challenge that women go through.
So with HANA, you're not alone. We want to have those two-pronged approach. One is to talk to the couple or the woman because they get most of the beating. And then secondly is just to educate the wider society, because all this pain and stigmas, they come from people. They come from our mothers, grandfathers. So we seek to inform, we seek to encourage, and to say, guys, infertility is just a disease, just like cancer, just like sugar diabetes. With the proper treatment, with the proper support, people can be helped.
But what about your peers, Jerry? Do you find that, what are the challenges that men go through if they don't have children?
So typically us men, we will hardly talk about that, but we do have a few people coming out looking for support. So we just offer that, a safe landing space to say, no, you can talk to us, you can talk to me, I've been through that. But the biggest challenge is just to come out in the first place. People resort to secondary affairs, relationships, to prove their manhood, to say, I can do this, but we don't encourage that. So rather talk, rather come out and then seek professional help, and then there is help.
And words of encouragement before we go, Karabo, for the thousands, if not millions, that are failing to conceive or have lost kids along the way.
Yeah, two things for me. One is infertility is a couple's issue. It's not a woman's problem. If you do it together, I assume the chances of success will be higher. Your relationship will be better. Number two, don't lose hope. As much as it's painful, don't lose hope. Keep trying, keep going back, and believe the Lord for a success.
And for you?
Yeah, thirdly, just get information. Ignorance is not bliss. The more you know, the better your chances.
Yeah.
Maybe give us those social media handles once again.
We are found on Facebook, Hannah, You Are Not Alone, and on Instagram, at Hannah_You Are Not Alone.
Guys, what a wonderful time we've had today. Thank you so much for speaking to us, and certainly wish you many more babies.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Been speaking to Karabo and Jerry, and what an amazing journey. Been blessed with one little boy, two actually, but that little boy in Dumiso, 8 years old. And in the words of Karabo, keep trying, it will work out. This is Cope. Until next week, goodbye.